This is Lansdowne Road, the voice of the fans, and today we're going to be talking about Evan Ferguson to Roma, Mikey Johnston to Flamingo is off, and Aaron Connley drops down to League One with Leighton Orient. We have all of this and the latest Irish transfer news. It's Lansdowne Roar. Hello and welcome to another edition of Lansdowne Roar. David Dunn here, joined by Connor McAvoy. Before we get started, Connor, if you wouldn't mind.
Like the video and subscribe right now before I send an angry Englishman after you. And luckily, Dave, you're not the Englishman today. It's Martin. He's in a very bad mood. England lost in the Women's Euros, so that's ruined his whole week. I've seen that. They lost to France, even though Ireland beat France, so that's 1-0 Ireland. But no, Martin probably get very offended by that. No, but just subscribe to the channel and leave a like. And if you're watching on Spotify, give us a 5-star rating. And then go to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and go to Lansdowne Road and click unfollow.
I was actually just going to say hit the ticker tape.
Is that what you're going to say?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell. I thought you were going to give out to me by people not telling people to subscribe.
No, there you go. All what he said, except for the unfollow Lansdowne Road. But you don't want to be one of the 78,000 followers to unfollow, do you? 78,000 followers over on Lansdowne Road. Kind of just thought I'd put it out
all
there.
All bots.
Don't even go there. I worked hard for that page. 6 years? 6 years now. Anyway, you are very welcome to another episode here of Lansdowne Roar. It's been a while, a little bit rusty, especially if you saw the blooper tape before we came on. Christ. 4 goes of the intro, and I still bosh it up towards the end, but I don't care. But the one thing we have to remember is Dave is the best. Forgot that was there. We've got lots to talk about, Connor. First, obviously, lots of transfer news, a lot of mad transfer news, and you're going to talk us through those. Evan Ferguson to Roma. Where's this come from? What's happening here, and how likely is it?
To be honest with you, I don't know how likely it is, Steve. To be honest with you, I don't know. But it's been reported by Gianluigi Di Marzio, who was probably the original Fabrizio Romano 5-6 years ago. He is Fabrizio Romano's mentor as such. With Sky Italy, he took Romano under his wing, and he's reporting that Ferguson has been offered to Roma on loan, which is the offer supposedly, and Roma are weighing up the offer on whether to go for a deal or not. I don't know how true it is. I don't know whether clubs have been in contact with Ferguson's agents, or agents have been throwing his name about to see what, because I'm sure there's loads of teams and loads of leagues would want him, and probably they want to see how many clubs as possible would actually come in for him to go ahead with a deal, or whether it's Brighton want him to go on loan to Italy. It's an interesting one, Dave, isn't it? Because we don't know how true it is, because you just don't know what these sort of stories, whether it's just interest or a bit of flirting to get a bit of something off Brighton. Because I seen Brighton were back in pre-season yesterday. I didn't see Ferguson in the that they always do with the players coming out onto the pitch and high-fiving the media fella, or the media fella recording. Ferguson wasn't in some of that. But I think it's hard to know with them because it never shows all the players. But I've seen Andy Moore in it as well, which is good to see. But it's a strange one. Gasparini's the manager of Roma after coming from Atalanta to a very, very good side. Obviously, Roma are. It's not like you wouldn't say maybe there's too much between themselves and Brighton in terms of talent. Brighton probably you could argue maybe are a better side. Roma already have Dobbik as their striker, but would Ferguson be a better striker in the long run? I would say yes. But if he's only a loan signing, would a team like that want to play Ferguson over their number 9 that they can make money on in the future? I don't know. So it's a strange one to analyse, because we just don't know how true it is. We don't know if Ferguson would have any interest in it. We don't know if Brighton would want to send him to Italy. We don't know whether, because the thing is, I expect him to go into pre-season, Dave, and just completely tear it up with Brighton. I think he's going to tear it up with Brighton. I think they're going to think, yeah, we're going to need this lad. And the big thing now is that João Pedro's gone out the door, which is a massive loss to Brighton. Could be a positive for Evan. I can remember Evan, as good as Evan has been for Brighton, he started to derail a wee bit when João Pedro came into the team, because João Pedro is the type of player, everything goes through João Pedro. It's kind of giving the ball, even when they're playing together, you see a lot less balls go into the box, a lot less balls go into Evan's feet, a lot less time he can get on the ball when Joy Pedro's on the pitch. So maybe with Joy Pedro going out the door, maybe it's a fresh thing of maybe optimism or chance for Evan to really shine in pre-season.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'd be very reticent to go on a loan as willingly as he did with the West Ham loan. We know the West Ham loan, for a multitude of reasons we won't get into on here, was a complete disaster. I hope he does smash it at Brighton, because I think that's his best chance. Irish young players don't tend to do very well in Italian leagues. It is like kryptonite to young players. Serie A, let's be honest. Do I think he's good enough to make it in Serie A? Yeah, of course. But for all the reasons you pointed out, maybe it wouldn't be a good move for him. And as well, I think he's at a pivotal part of his career. His asking price has been slashed down to about 35. What's it, £30 million? Apparently, if you believe that. This is a guy that people were looking for 100 million for, and now he's 30 million. So, he's rapidly falling. His stock is rapidly falling, and he needs to have a damn good season this season. He needs to have a really good season. He needs to be injury free as much as possible. He needs to just do the business. Don't think it helped, obviously, as I mentioned before. The pre-season stuff with Conor McGregor. Okay, there could be reasons for that. That doesn't get, the optics of that are very poor. I don't care what way you slice it. But I was happy to see him in pre-season training, and he did look like he was knuckling down, which is good. That's the side of Evan Ferguson we want to see, because he does. He needs to seriously work very hard, because he needs to have an excellent season this season, because his stock is rapidly falling. You might not want to hear that, Connor, but that's the absolute truth of this. So I don't think a loan move to Serie A would do him well. I think the best move for him would be to try and stay at Brighton, as you say, and try to smash it and break into the team, and then show the manager what he can do. Yeah. So I don't really want to see him go to Roma, to be honest.
Yeah. It's hard to know, because the thing is, like, the big thing with Irish lads going to Italy is if they're going into academy football, it's hell, and you're never going to make it, basically, if you go into academy football in Italy. It's different, really, if you're going straight into a first team. And in fairness, we have seen strikers over the years absolutely tear up. Like, you see the likes of Higuain, Immobile, Di Natale, lads that are kind of your more natural number nines that went to Italy and completely tore it up. Morata is another that would done really well. And you'd say Evan's more of your traditional number nine than he is your flair number nine, like a Joy Pedro is, or a Gabriel Jesus, or a Firmino type player. So maybe he would do very, very well in Italy, because you always see strikers do very well in that league. They always score goals. You always see Lukaku, even when he was doing bad in England, he'd always go back to Italy and he'd tear it up in Italy. So it'd be interesting one to see what way it would work out. If he was going to go to Italy, though, the only thing I'd have to say is probably a permanent move would probably be the only way you could really get to work out. I don't know how a loan would really suit what a club would want to bring him in, unless there was an option to buy or an obligation to buy, which is completely different rather than a straight loan. I just don't know. But I think we're going to have big things for Evan this season, and we have to, because it's a World Cup next summer. We have to presume we're going to be there. He has to presume that he's fighting for that number 9 spot, which really at this stage, Dave, he should be comfortably be Ireland's number 9, and he is fighting for that spot. So he has to really establish himself at club level to make that jersey his own.
100%. And I think one of the major problems with West Ham was there was no incentive for them to invest in him anytime. And there was no, and that's the problem. He needs someone to invest the time in him. But look, best of luck to Evan. And yeah, you're right. We hope he does get the move that he needs, and which we ironically hope it's not a move, that he stays at Brighton and he shows the lads what he can do there. Next one up, we were talking about, obviously, Mikey Johnston. £5 million deal supposedly was in the works to go to Flamingo, Brazil's largest club. Out of nowhere, really. £5 million deal from West Brom. It was doing the rounds, and then all of a sudden it was killed. Allegedly due to backlash from the fans. That's what was doing the rounds. Connor, can you tell us a bit more about this?
It's a bit depressing, Dave, to be honest with you. First of all, I feel so bad for Mikey Johnston. It really is. From all the reports that are coming out, that the deal is off because of fan backlash. There's nothing more embarrassing for a lad, really, is there? Because
Yeah.
I just feel awful for him because the reality is these Flamingo fans who have given backlash, which I have actually haven't seen a huge amount, because I'd say 90% of comments that came onto my page to ask about Mikey Johnston were just all fans asking what he's like. And of course, you had your typical Celtic fans coming in when no one asked for their opinion. But anyway, yeah, it's a bit devastating, I say, for Mikey. It looked like on Tuesday he was due to fly today actually to Rio, wasn't he, to go complete a medical and get the deal done. And instead he had gone to say his goodbyes at the Hortons or whatever their training ground is, to say to give his goodbyes to West Brom staff and the players ahead of a move, and wasn't going to go on their pre-season trip to Austria. And now he's heading to Austria. He's probably in Austria now at this stage with West Brom on their pre-season trip. It was meant to be probably a good deal for all parties, even though West Brom would have, I'd say, ideally would have loved to keep him. But I think it was good for the PSR to get the 5 million in for Mikey, and obviously he's going to be staying there now unless something turns or Flamengo decide to make a U-turn and turn their season around. They're top of the league in Brazil. They're the biggest club in Brazil. Obviously, there's a lot of investment gone into that league over the last couple of years. They're spending a lot of money on players. I see like some Memphis Depay's gone there. Obviously, Neymar's gone back to Santos, and they were going to spend 5 million on Mikey, who I think would have excelled really in the Brazilian league. Could you imagine with their crowds and their fan base as a player like Mikey Johnston getting people off their feet with his dancing feet, a few nutmegs, and obviously he's always lacked that little bit of end product. He had it in his first 6 months at West Brom, and he was absolutely outrageous, one of the best players in the Championship. Last season didn't go all that well for him. Even though when he played well, the end product was lacking a bit, and he probably thought this was a chance to really, I wouldn't say revitalize his career, but like just probably get to the level where he expects himself to be, because he probably himself probably thinks that he should be at this stage of his career being a Premier League player, and he's probably a bit off it at the moment. So, it's probably devastating for Mikey. It's embarrassing as well, which I hate saying the word embarrassing, but it's just embarrassing. We don't think it's embarrassing, but it just for probably from a personal point of view for himself, it probably is a little bit that they're saying that fan backlash is causing this.
Yeah, I mean, it would be embarrassing and rightfully. He hasn't done anything wrong, you know. They went for him, and obviously they tried the whole thing on Brazilian TV, bringing Robbie Keane up, and it was cringy, absolutely cringy. Flip there,
Just an
Christ.
angry man. Just let them bring him and ask.
No, it's
It's a bit of entertainment. It's good. They got good views out of it, and RepTrack got good likes and views out of it.
You
So
talking about yourself in third person again, eh? Rep
no,
tracker.
I'm talking about the
The
page,
Rock
not me.
over there. Yeah. No, I anyway, well, it didn't do any good, did it? So there you go,
Mike Johnson.
Mick
But
Johnston.
just a question: do you think that is actually the reason the transfer didn't happen? Do you think it is fan backlash or something's gone wrong?
Who knows? Maybe somebody suggested it. I don't know. I mean, why? With all due respect to Mikey Johnson, why Flamengo be looking at him? Out of all the players, do you know what I mean? Like, with all due respect to Mikey Johnson, I do think he's a player. I do think he's got ability. He had a terrible season last season. We've seen him play well for Ireland, but he's been quite anonymous lately. So I'm thinking, where it's just one of those mad obscure transfers that just does happen. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe is there an agent connection? Is there a connection with the club? Who knows? Who God only knows where that came from. So I don't know. It could be fan backlash.
His agents are Wasserman, which is, you'd say, be one of the top agencies across the globe. So maybe someone threw out the idea, and then they seen that,
Yeah.
and they probably look. Well, in fairness, if you look at his highlights, he looks a bit like a Brazilian silky player, doesn't he? He had
When he's on
McGeady was the
form,
same. Yeah.
when he's on form, he's exciting. He's an old school left winger. Like, I love it. You know, when he's on form, but he hasn't been on form. So maybe someone was, I don't know, probably someone was stoned off their head and went, like, this is what we need. Bosh, Mikey
Yeah.
Johnston, showing some of his highlights, and then they kind of looked into it. Don't know about that. God only knows, but I do feel bad for Mikey, and hopefully, like, that'll spur him on and say, look, obviously, there's something that I did that got interest. Maybe I need to rediscover that form, and he kicks on. But best of luck to him anyway. Next one up, of course, Aaron Connley signing on a 2-year deal with Leyton Orient. The O's, a club, of course, we know very well. I mean, I'm happy he's found a club. It's a 2-year deal, so there is an investment in time for Aaron, which is probably what he needs right now. He needs minutes. But I think this is kind of his level now, really, isn't it? I think he's, how old is he now? 25?
Yeah, 25.
25. He's a League One player now, and I think it's sad, but this is just where he's at, isn't it? I mean, happy for him. He's still got employment. People always say, "I'll be back in the League of Ireland." Now, there's anything wrong with that. But he's still in England and he still has a chance. Leyton Orient, they're a good League One side. They were in the playoffs, as we know, last season. Game I was at. But yeah, it's kind of where he's at now, isn't it? This is where he is, and you're kind of expecting a similar signing coming up for Michael Obafemi as well. Kind of in that bracket, isn't he?
Yeah, it's a difficult one to analyze, Dave, isn't it? Because like what I've seen, actually, if someone made a very valid point on, actually, it was a TikTok video yesterday about Connley going to Leyton Orient. It's like people are saying it's how good of a sign it is for a League One club, and that has he found his level? It's like he's found his level for now, I would say. I don't think ability wise and the way he is as a player, he's not a League One player. Certainly in terms of ability, he's not a League One player. I think it's just a sort of thing of a refresh of his whole career, that he kind of is a smart decision to make this step down. Sometimes you need to make that step back to get that step forward, get the confidence back playing as a number 9, which he said yesterday in his interview. At Millwall, he was playing as a left winger, and he said, at my last club, I wasn't playing as a 9, which is where I want to play. So it's a highlight of what he wants to be. We've seen over the last couple of years, Dave, one thing we never knew with Connley, there was all these accusations thrown against him, everyone saying he's a horrible person and this and that about him. And he was very open and honest I think it was when we were in Finland, actually, last October. There was an interview came out with Sunderland when he was there saying about his struggles with alcohol, and he had to go to rehab to get himself back to himself, because he said it was just his life was going in a really bad path, and he'd done very well at Hull before that, and he said that was when he was playing his best, but he was really struggling mentally, and now he's quit drinking. He's probably fully focused on football, and it's an opportunity to go to a level where he'll probably go into Leyton Orient now. And the big thing with footballers always try to find is they're going to be the main man, and he's going to go into Leyton Orient now, and he's going to be their best player without a doubt, and he's going to be their main man, and he's going to be looking to be, the pressure's going to be on him to fire them to really to promotion next season, because a player of his ability should be scoring, I'd say, 20 goals in League One, not to say some sort of world-class player, but he's not a League One footballer ability-wise. Yes, it's his level, you would say. It is his level, but that's only, I would say, just for now, so he can...
Yeah.
He had to make this step down, I think.
No, I get what you're saying there, but you say he's not League One ability-wise. I don't think he's proven otherwise, really. He 6 years ago came on.
I think at Hull, I think when he was at Hull, I think he showed that he's not a League One player. I thought he was very good at Hull until he got his injury, and then do you remember he got knocked out by Angus Gunn? Yeah,
it was 2 years ago. That wasn't it? 2 years ago,
season and a half. Yeah, when Liam Senior was the manager.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, this is his last opportunity. If he can't do it here, and if he gets, he's not playing or he's released by Leyton Orient, then he will be going to League of Ireland. That's the only place. That's the only place he's going to go. So it's a big moment for him. I hope, and by the way, I hope he pulls the nose up. I hope he does well. I really do. Yeah. But we're talking about this Renaissance. We're talking about this. We're talking about that, and he's just slipping further down. And he needs to just. I hope it works out for him. I hope he gets all the luck and he applies himself, and now he's back in the championship, and we're talking about him again in a year or two, and he's back in the Irish setup. But I mean, he's 26, 27. So
the thing is, Dave, I would say there's a lot of people who are getting some sort of gratitude that Connolly's starting to, they would say, feel as such, because a lot of people wished badly on him, they thought, because of the way he carries that attitude, they want him to do bad. So I hope he proves all these people wrong, because there's a lot of people who are hoping that he does badly and he doesn't kick on again, and I really hope he does. He can turn it around, because he at the end of the day, he is an excellent player with a lot of talent. He just has to prove it now, and I really hope he does prove it. And I really hope Leighton Orient is a good club for him to go to. Under we've seen with Josh Keeley last season, we've seen with Ollie O'Neill how well lads do with them, and there's a good Irish connection there. Ollie O'Neill's still there, and Killian Cahill is signed as a goalkeeper there as well. So hopefully he can really turn it around.
Hopefully, and best luck to him. Genuinely best luck to him. Another one here. Mark Travers to Everton.
Yep.
What's happening here? I mean, he's
Yeah.
at Bournemouth. Bournemouth don't want him. He was at Middlesbrough then towards the end of last season, and here he is.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Sky Sports reporting this morning that this morning, probably about 2 hours ago from when we were recording, Dave, that Everton want to sign him. David Moyes is a massive fan. Obviously, he would go in as number 2 behind Jordan Pickford, and I would probably say pump the brakes on that one. I wouldn't get too ahead on it because I've seen some people presuming that he's just going to go in there and want to be the number 2, and I would highly doubt that Mark Travers wants to go in there and be number 2, Dave. We've seen over the last couple of years at Bournemouth, he's been a number 2. They're probably delighted because he's as good as a number 2 as you're really going to get in football. He's an excellent professional. He's a brilliant goalkeeper. He'll never let you down. He's never injured. But we've seen over the last couple of years, he's had loan spells in the Championship from Bournemouth since they've come back to Premier League. So he's obviously saying to Bournemouth, I want to go out and be a number 1. I don't want to sit on the bench and be a number 2 for my career. I have a long career and I want to play football. He was excellent at Middlesbrough second half of last season. He was one of the best keepers in the Championship. Basically, when they were in their rut, he was probably the only positive in their side. And I really think that I would probably say pump the brakes on this one. I think Travers will not want, as good as probably the money would probably be at Everton. I said the money would probably be a good bit more than what he's getting at Bournemouth. I think he'll just want to go play football because he wants to play for Ireland. As obviously he wants to somehow find a way to get back in and possibly the number 1 again. Or if Kelleher gets injured, he becomes that next option. But the reality is, Dave, if he goes to Everton and becomes number 2, does that take him out of the Ireland picture? Because I would say it's 95% likely we'll see Josh Keeley in the Championship with a very good side next season. Obviously, Max O'Leary will still be at Bristol City. We don't know where Bazunu will be, but we expect Bazunu to be a number 1, whether it's Southampton or whether he goes back abroad again. And you can, as easy as it is to come up the ladder in Irish football, if you can slip down it very fast. Like Connley, as we speak about Connley there, Connley's not in the Ireland picture anytime soon. Travers could easily fall out of it. As much as we want Travers to do well, we think probably going and being number 2, even as Everton are a very good club. I just don't think that's acceptable to be called up over lads who'd be playing week in, week out, and even the Championship. So yeah, so I just don't think Travers would want this move to happen unless he suddenly switched his mindset that he's happy to be a number 2. But I just think he wants to play every week.
Yeah, I mean, he could be number 2 where he's at. Bournemouth. I mean, to go all the way up to Everton, he's on the south coast, all the way up to Merseyside, sit on the bench. I mean, why would he want to do that unless he's getting
just money? It's just money.
Just a whopper salary, which, by the way, fair play if that's what you want to do. No, and if he is number 2 and Josh Keeley is playing in the Championship, he's playing week in, week out, then yeah, Josh Keeley would have to be bumped. Would have to be bumped over Mark Travers. Brendan will like that. But yeah,
the only thing. Yeah. Just Dave, the only thing I'd say is he's in the final year of his contract. He's heading into his final year, which obviously probably Bournemouth might think we might want to cash in. But like, is Mark Travers himself? I'm sure Mark Travers could easily get a move to load. I would guarantee 95% of Championship teams would take Mark Travers in the morning because they know how good he is. He was the best keeper in the Championship when Bournemouth got promoted a couple or 3 seasons ago at this stage, and all their fans absolutely adored him. You always hear the Super Mark Travers goal chant doing the rounds every time he plays, and he's a fan favourite at Bournemouth, and I'd say they'd be gutted to see him go because they all absolutely love him. I've seen Kepa's on the way out the door now, but it seems Arola once more that Spanish type ball playing goalkeeper than Travers. But no, I just think if Everton's going to pay money for him, I still think any other club in the Championship would. Every single club in the Championship that needs a goalkeeper will want Mark Travers. So okay, I would say probably just hold on that one. I wouldn't get too ahead of myself on that one. It could happen, but I just think he doesn't want to be number 2.
All right. And here we are, Captain Cod, Cal Madowda got Cardiff City relegated, and he just left them on their bollocks, and he's gone off to Karen Karash. Uh, Hiya, Martin. No, no, no. He's gone over there to Farah Karosh. I think it's how you say it, Farah
Very
Barosh.
Forest is what
Uh,
I say.
Farah Faris over in Hungary. Of course, Hungary's best team. And of course, Robbie Keane is the manager there as well. And they are league champions. And they're going to have Champions League qualifiers as well, aren't they? Like, so a whole lot, like, COD in Europe. Jesus, that should be a computer game.
Yeah.
But there he is, unbelievable, out of left field, pretty much how he plays, I suppose. I mean, fair play to him. I don't really get it, to be honest. Like, all joking aside, but Callum Dowda, he is in the Hungarian top flight.
Yeah, it is left field, as you say. It's a funny one. I think it's a great move. It's a great experience. I remember Martin saying that Callum O'Dowda will never move outside of the Midlands section of England because he's been there his whole career, and he makes the move
To
to
be
Hungary.
fair,
Yeah, Budapest. Is that where Ferrum Forest is? It is Budapest, isn't it? I think it is Budapest. So I think it's a good move. I think it's a lovely place to live. Probably a lot cheaper than living in England. Gets to play under Ireland's greatest ever striker, Robbie Keane, whose birthday is today. So happy birthday, Robbie Keane. But yeah, I think it's a great move. I seen him say on his Instagram post that he couldn't turn down playing in Champions League. He's probably a bit ahead of himself, presuming they're going to qualify. But I know they're automatically into the second round of qualifiers, so it shows where probably the Hungarian league's coefficient is at, and they probably fancy themselves to, if not qualify, I'd say they'll definitely be in the Europa League at a minimum. Ferrum Forest will be a good side. They've quite a few Hungarian internationals. I don't know if that reflects more of where a lot of the Hungarian internationals are at compared to where the league is at. So yeah, it's. I think it's a very good move. It probably puts him back in the Ireland picture again because he could end up playing in the Champions League. And very hard not to pick a lad playing in the Champions League, playing week in, week out, and he is playing at a decent level. I know it's not like he's going back. I'd say it's not going to be like he's playing in the Championship again, but it's probably the equivalent of the Scottish League or better than most League One sides. So I don't think it's a bad move at all. It's a good move. Likely going to be playing in a lot of European football, which he said he couldn't turn down, and probably playing for Ireland is still his biggest aspiration and wants to be on that flight next summer to America. And can he challenge Robbie Brady by getting this move? I don't
well,
know. Or Ryan Manning? Or is Ryan Manning overtaking him in the pecking order? But I just don't know.
I mean, to be fair, it's a great move for Callum Dowda, by the way. And it'd be stupid to turn it down. League
Yeah.
One in Cardiff, or possibly playing in the Champions League or certainly Europa. No, and he's playing week in, week out in Europa and Champions League and all of that. And fair play to him. Then yeah, he has to be a shoe in for the Ireland squad, such as it is. And yeah, maybe Robbie Brady would go ahead of Robbie Brady. He won't go ahead of Robbie Brady. Actually, I'm saying that the manager loves Robbie Brady.
Yeah, he won't play over him.
No, because he's he has this he's an asset for set pieces apparently. But yeah, well, I haven't seen it in the last few games of you, Robbie Brady.
I've always said his set pieces are rubbish. 1 in 50 million are good, but one he gets the perfect one is perfect, but the rest of them are absolutely crap.
It's like that whole thing, isn't it? That your pal Martin O'Neill once said. And I wonder if he saw that clip of you, Martin. He must have, where he says that if you show up to work one day and people see that you've shown up to work on time one day, you can sleep in for the rest of your life. That's it. It is set in their mentality, and he's absolutely right about that. Just when he said it, it took about 5 hours to explain it.
But Dave, I have a question. Do you think this is now a trend of Irish internationals or young Irish players or Irish players on the periphery of the squad joining Robbie Keane and Ferrum Forest? Do you think we will see another Irishman join him this summer?
Yes, I do. It depends on how well he does. Like he will be based on how well you do in Europe. I'm not expecting him to win the Champions League, but I'm expecting, he'll probably be expected to qualify for the Champions League. Let's get an absolute pig of a qualification, and then to kind of go as far as they can in that. That's where he's going to be judged now, because they win the Hungarian league at a plum. Not slagging that off, not having a go. Hopefully, won't be getting another message. But yeah, it's just it's how he does in Europe. So if he fails to qualify for the Champions League and he do poorly in that, I would be like, I'd be thinking maybe it's Mick McCarthy in Cyprus time. But if he does well in that, and then to give him a bit more leeway, they'll open the purse strings a little bit more, and he will want to surround himself with more Irish players. So then you could see a couple of more Irish players going their way, some of the fringe players going his way, which would be good, which is good. And this is why we like to see
Yep.
Irish managers like Keith Andrews. If he does well,
Yep.
he's going to get more Irish players. But thankfully, even though there's a dearth of Irish managers in the top flight of football, you're starting to see a lot of Irish lads go to even the continent because they're getting technically better.
Yep.
Especially the defenders. They're more, they're not hoofball defenders like Shane Duffy. No offense to Shane Duffy. They're more ball playing like Mikey.
But yeah, I even think you're saying before he does well, I think he might look to get a few in over the next couple of weeks. It could be.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he isn't going for CR47 as well. I thought he might have tried to do the Cardiff double, but I'd say he might be looking a bit too much money to go play in the Hungarian league.
Yeah, he probably fancies himself in the Championship. I mean, the Championship is still quite lucrative if you go to the right club. You can still make a decent.
It's in fairness, it's a better league than the Hungarian league, and I know Hull City were big in for Callum O'Dowda. They were trying to sign him, and then they got the transfer embargo. So I'd say that removed any real probably question in O'Dowda's head which club to pick. So yeah.
So there you go. Right. Any other transfers we want to talk about? Oh, young Mahoney here.
Yeah, Marco Mahoney on his way. Well, he's not on his way. It's done. He has signed for Reading for the season ahead. You'd say it was probably a difficult enough loan spell last year at Reading, which was not Reading, sorry, Portsmouth, which he started well, scored a couple of goals. He showed how good he's a finisher. He's a brilliant finisher. And then he was kind of in and out of the team when he picked up an injury, and then he was kind of in and out of the team for the rest of the season. And it was a bit of a struggle from there. But it's probably the right move to move down to League One and join Noel Hunt and play under an Irish manager, which I'd say the connection there has helped a lot, which to get him back to back to his best and playing week in, week out and getting senior minutes whilst showing how good he is quality-wise. And I think he'll score a lot of goals in League One this season, which will only benefit the Ireland under-21s. He's the type of player that has the potential to go play for the senior team in the future, and he can go shine and then hopefully do well with the 21s. And then next season he can, I don't know whether he'd go back to the Championship or go out the continent to play abroad. But like we've seen, if you remember, Dave, he scored in the League Cup this season or last season for Brighton, so they rate him highly, and hopefully it's just a start for him, and hopefully it's going to be a good pre-season for all Irish. I'm actually glad that move's done good and early, because you don't usually see that anymore. A lot of these low moves that these clubs do, they're last minute, and you can understand some clubs, they want to keep lads just in case there's an injury crisis, or they want the lads to go on the pre-season tour, and if they do really well on the pre-season tour, that they can maybe break in or surprise a few people. But yeah, it's going to be a really interesting pre-season. Dave, I put up a post up yesterday on the socials about lads that could potentially impress, or like lads that could really shine in the first team football. Like you could probably see the likes of, I say, Trent Coney-Doherty, Jimmy Mullins at Brighton, obviously Andy Moore, but I think he's more established that he's going to be there anyway. Romeo Kachukwu at Southampton, and we're going to see probably a lot of lads get chances in pre-season. So it's going to be a really interesting. I'm looking forward to watching pre-season this year, because I think there's a lot of lads that are on the periphery of first team football and could really get to that next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Best of luck to him, and best of luck to all the transfers that have occurred so far. And of course, we will have more of these episodes before the big season kickoff. We're just still trying to decide what day we're going to be on, be Sunday or Monday. Keep your eye out on the socials, as big things coming for the Raw faithful this year. And of course, that is all we have time for. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit like on this video. It really does help. Check out our David Ford interview as well. That is over on the YouTube channel. That's a YouTube exclusive. Fascinating interview with the very fascinating David Ford. That is all there as well. Also head over to our Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter account. Head over to lansdowneroad.ie for opinion. Anyway, I'm David Dunn. He is Conor McAvoy. This is Lansdowne Roar, and we're out of here. Good night.